Just like that, we should be live. So, welcome back to the channel, Justin. Today, we're talking about actually making money rather than just coasting with our portfolios, evident by the fact that we both are taking our stuff in-house. We're really focused on the bottom line right now. And a big part of the bottom line is occupancy. Whether
Oh
you run
yeah,
your occupancy super high at a little lower rent or you run it a
money
little
rather
lower.
than
Oh, I'm hearing an echo. I think that's on my end. Oops.
it was on my end. I just turned it live so I could respond to the people in the chat here.
Still weird hearing myself talk when I'm talking. All right, well, let's talk about money because that's a fun subject. So, occupancy levels. Like what is your target occupancy level
Mhm.
in general? So like over the course of your investing career, and what is it right now?
Yeah, so the in terms of when I'm building out the model in it differs by location. So in Washington, I usually am factoring in a 3% vacancy. In Milwaukee, I think historically I've been doing 5%. So just because there tends to be more turnover in those types of property. So, if you had 100 properties, the assumption is that three of them in Washington, three of them would be vacant kind of at all times. If you're in Milwaukee, about 5% would be vacant at all times. Right now, I have three vacancies on 80, which is obviously much higher. Three, yeah, it's 4% total. So, but the historical averages kind of ebbs and flows. And what I've seen is typically because you can't move in the middle. Well, you can move, but there's consequences for the tenant. I see the biggest ton of turnover in that spring season. So there's a no move policy through February. So what ends up happening is people, we give them the new lease notifications and then people start doing their tax returns. My highest vacancy tends to be Feb, March, April, which means, yes, less income in and then higher output, which, is roughly right around the same time when taxes are due. So it's usually a big bind in that kind of Feb to April for me.
Okay. Yeah, and the way I try and run it, when I'm growing a portfolio, I like to be 96 to 98% occupied. So I'm going to have rents that will reflect that when I'm on the growth phase. And then
Hmm
when I'm stabilized, probably closer to 92.
hmm Interesting. So when you're stabilized, you want more turnover to start to increase the total dollars in.
Yeah, and so when I'm stabilizing, optimizing stuff, part of it is pushing your values up so you can get better debt products, and better might be you have a little lower loan to value, so you get a little better term from the lender, or you have a higher proof of concept rent instead of I have the lower end in Moses Lake as well as some of the higher end, but on the lower end, I can rent my studios for 850.
Hmm
When I'm building a portfolio, rent them for 750, 775, because I know those people aren't likely to move. So I can just focus on growing the business, and my occupancy level as a result stays higher.
Lower end.
And it allows me to just keep focusing on, the next thing. So when I'm trying to optimize though, like fully stabilize and optimize the portfolio, I'm going to push those rents up a little bit to push my values and
Right.
push the actual dollars in. But as a result, some people are going to leave, and so my turnover will go up, and that stabilized occupancy is going to be closer to the market occupancy rate rather than this artificially high one because I just want to focus on stable money in rather than max money in.
Exactly. And yours specifically is even more impactful for every dollar on a multifamily. For every dollar you're increasing, it's worth more than. So for example, if I had a duplex, if I raised it $100, that actually doesn't necessarily change the value of my house because appraisal is still on comparable. Now for you, you raise that $100, and if that $100 in theory goes to the bottom line, now you're dividing by the cap rate and your value goes up. So it's more important as you're getting into these multifamily to increase those rents. I mean, you could make the argument for both, but in terms of like your total portfolio, yes, you're getting the cash flow, but you're also getting the equity build when you're increasing the rents on these multifamilies.
Yeah, there's another thing I try and do that also helps with occupancy levels is, if you can carve out a bedroom, so turn it from a one bed to a two bed, you don't have to charge as much as the traditional two bedrooms. So
Hmm.
you can also keep your occupancy up, keep people in there longer, because it might cost you a few $1,000s to add a bedroom, depending on
Hmm.
the layout. Whereas buying a two bedroom versus a one bedroom rental might have cost you an extra $20,000. And so
Hmm.
that difference can be reflected in a lower rent because you're investing less. And so that's something I've been doing as well, is either carving out additional units or turning one bedrooms into two bedrooms, studios into one beds.
Right.
And that is a great way to also improve your occupancy and keep those rents more affordable. Because if you have affordable rents, people don't usually want to move.
Exactly. Yeah, it's it's kind of like that job, like a job, just over broke. You just give them enough money to stay at the job, they're satisfied, right? So if you keep that rent just at the point at which it's not a pain point for them, they're going to keep staying. I know that I can't remember the year, but I was still at Amazon at the time. So it's probably like 2000 2001 time frame where I was like, man, our rents are really low. So on my side, I went and like, hey, raise everything, at the time, and specifically in Milwaukee. And I ended up getting a bunch of vacancies, which makes sense because like was way below and then push them up. Like the one thing that I learned the more that I'm into this is like now I meet with the person that's in charge of renewals and we go through the entire portfolio and we do this twice a year. So we say, we're looking at everything for 6 months. What are the renewals coming up? The ones that are below, we're pushing those high. The ones that are fairly close to market to keep, back to the original is like, if I want to keep the occupancy level, I'm slightly bumping those, right? $100 on something that increase on something that's market, that's a little bit more risky than something where you increase 100 and it's 200 below market. So we're looking at all these ones that are below market, trying to push those more. The ones that are above market, some of them we were literally, I don't like to keep rents flat because like none of our costs are ever flat and they never go down as either. So even if it's like, hey, they're already at market, I'll still do like $5. I'll do like $15. Um, Especially if they're in a building, and this you might do this as well. If they're exactly the same unit, same condition, like I have this one where like 1200 is like kind of the market, and as everybody gets to 1200, then we're just doing these micro increases. But everyone who's below 1200, we're really starting to push it up. What's your philosophy on your rent increases?
Yeah, what I try and do first before I do rental increases today, and this is a little different than what I did in the beginning. In the beginning, I'd post a notice and rent would go up, but it is what it is. But you live and learn and get a little better. So today I try and optimize the property. So I try and increase the value to the tenant before I do a bump. So that might be adding a bedroom, that might be adding amenities. Like I go in and add a laundry room and say, hey, look, I'm going to offer this laundry room. It's not going to be coin out, but you have to pay $30 a month to access it. That's going to help me with the water. And of course, the water doesn't cost me all that much when you're factoring for, I'm going to have 6 units that are not paying me $30 a month, and it's cheaper
Yeah,
than going to a laundromat. So
right.
I make a little bit more money. And another way to go about it is rather than bumping the rent, push back some of the utilities. So separately meter the electric and have them sign in. Like that, you come off as less of a bad guy if you say, "Hey, I'm not raising your rent, but I just want you to pay for your utilities."
Hmm. Yep, that's I took over this property in 22. That's how I did it. So there's a lot of issues going on, which is typically when somebody's in pain, that's when you're able to do a sub two deal. And the lady was just kind of done with the property in overhead, a lot of expenses, a lot of issues with property management. Well, I came in, hired a new property manager, moved the old one out, and then we started filling it up. But we were still way below market on the existing people. And we actually did like a 2-year plan. So year one was, okay, we're shifting the utility bills back. It was crazy the amount of water. These water bills were like sometimes as high as 2,000 a month for 16 units. It's like absurd amount, right? And so, and there's in laundry in each of these two eightplexes. So level one is we kept everybody in there. We then communicated the plan was to move back the utilities. So that all we did was year one is we moved that back. After that first year, and now we track all the utilities for that building. We're almost 100% covered, meaning for all the bills that come in, the revenue that comes from the utility bill back covers it. So we got that covered, which, you know, lowering your cost and increasing the revenue do exactly the same thing on a multifamily, which all those people end up staying in. Then next year, then we started bumping it up. And so now we're going into year four, and pretty much everybody is, and these are smaller, they're like two bed, one bath. And our goal is to get everybody in that market where it's at, that's like 850, which seems like crazy cheap, right? But in that market, Des Moines, Iowa, that's exactly where, for the most part, everybody's around 8 to 850 after, a good 3 years. But I want to say the original was around five, the average was around 595. So we're up like $200 a month. And I think we're billing back, gosh, it's probably around, it's depending on the head count, but it's around 50 to 75 bucks. So it's almost $250 per unit over this span. And then, we did have some turnout, people move out during that process. But the good part about that, then we got them, day one, they start with rubs, the utility bill back, and the higher market rent. So this is how we like dial in and increase profitability and net worth, especially as you're on these commercial properties where they have these balloons coming up, right? Because they're not going to refinance your property if you don't have the cash flow to support it.
Right. Regarding multifamily buildings, because you bought some,
Yeah.
what are the biggest things you found or biggest value adds to reduce turnover? Because I can think of two in specific,
hmm
but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
See, in the one that's in Des Moines was just increasing the overall um, the vibe, I guess you could. So we do cleaning, I think twice a month, like the common areas and everything.
Mhm.
We redid the asphalt outside because it was just when it snows, everything was, going to this one spot and freezing over. We fixed the all the door entries so that they had actually closed, so it wasn't cold air coming in and out. We fixed the decks in the back. So there's a front entry and a back entry. The back entry's second story comes down. Um, and then we changed property management. So it was increasing the quality of the product and then having better communication with the tenants, with the property management, were the two main things that we did. And quite frankly, it was a slow transition over time to increase those rents as we were making these updates over time. And I would say, for the most part, I'd have to pull up my rent roll, but of the original people that are there, there's probably of the 16. I think there's only like four out of the 16. So 70, call that 75% turnover. Well, when I got it, it was only 10 out of 16. So six I had to fill. But in terms of turnover, that's a lot of turnover, but the total cash coming in relative to when I took it over is totally different.
It's great. Yeah, the ones that I found that are most impactful, good parking.
hmm
If you have inconvenient parking, people move.
hmm
And washer dryer in unit. If you
Right.
can buy a property that has a laundry room and you can axe the laundry room and put washer dryer in unit, the people stay longer. From my experience in the rental game. And then you can turn that laundry room into like a studio or something because it has power and it's got water and as long as it's big enough.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting. The both of these buildings I'm thinking of, they're um both of them are side by side eightplexes. One's in Iowa, one's in Wisconsin. The one in Iowa is not big enough to add. I don't think washer and dryer in unit. The ones in Milwaukee we could totally do in unit, and they're larger units because I think they're 3 bed, 1.5 bath. So in theory, there is space to put a washer and dryer in there because they have a bigger kitchen area as well. Uh,
yeah, and you put in the hookups, and here's the thing. If they don't want to buy the machines,
mhm.
you just say, "Hey, we'll rent you machines and we'll maintain them $25. Just
Yeah.
don't overload them." And you buy a machine for maybe 600 bucks, you get your payback in 2 years.
Hmm.
That's 16 units. So that's $400 a month.
Right.
You got
Yeah.
to do the hookups, but you can provide the machines, and that's an extra 5 grand a year of new money to you.
Yeah, it'd be interesting on because that specific property, the issue we run into it is actually not the tenants. It's usually the kids in the neighborhood are problems. And so like they'll get into the building and get into the basement. The reason why the basement's open is that's where their washer and dryers are. When I say theirs, the tenants who want, they brought their own washer and dryer. And so I'm like, man, if we put in-unit washer and dryers, like you're saying, we could just close the entire basement and eliminate some of our problems, specifically in the summer.
Or or on the door to the basement, you could put a coded lock and every tenant has their own code.
Hmm. Yep, that's definitely another one. We were looking at security cameras on that specific one, but
That
the coded
doesn't,
lock is even better.
yeah, because the thing is security cameras make make it inconvenient, but kids don't care.
Hmm.
What are you gonna do? Put them in jail?
Right.
That's not gonna happen unless they're destroying your property. But if they're just going in the basement, so what?
Yeah. What do you do? And maybe do you do coded locks to your basements?
I do coded locks for everything. I do it for my units,
Hmm.
for my laundry rooms. I have a different master code for every property. So if a tenant ever got one, they couldn't just look up what I own and get into everything. That would be bad.
Yeah.
But and I just write it down. I'm gonna show you a picture. Let's see. Is it a deadbolt only, or would you want it to just be a deadbolt, or how would you want to do it?
These are deadbolt only. So,
Okay, great. I'm gonna show you a picture of what I use in that exact situation. So let's see. Images. So I use this one then specifically. Oh, too bright. So I use this.
is that
And
sledge? Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I just put in
schlag or
my
whatever it is.
I just put that in, because now I'm taking back to property management. I actually just installed one of those on my property. The cool thing about now that one is definitely does the code. The one
You
I
could also do
just
this
had
one.
in,
Oh,
yep, I see that.
yeah.
I'm
But
doing
that
a
one doesn't have a
different
deadbolt.
one.
So
Let's see, I was gonna see, pull it up here. I got one where it has the codes. I don't know if you can see this or not.
yep. Yeah, I've used that before. I don't like it as much as this one, but it does work.
Yeah, the for me and is just like I'm like the only way for me to scale is it needs to be hooked up to Wi-Fi. So like the plan is that I get that same lock for everything. And then I can do all the Wi-Fi codes all from my mobile phone app specifically for that one. So um because what I want to do is be able to, as people move in and out, I don't have to go back to the property and change the code. I can change the code from anywhere in the world. But I like the idea of implementing the code. If we put that code in there, um, specifically if it's this one, we know exactly who got in because the it'll say the code number that was entered at what time. So now we just need to figure out a way to get the Wi-Fi in the building.
Put it in the basement.
Yeah. One of them we have one of the units we're giving subsidized rent for a guy to kind of be he does the cleaning of the hallways. He's monitoring the building, just to make sure no people are in the basement who shouldn't be there, and making sure the garbage is picked up and stuff like that. We could put the internet in his room, which would cover, one of the eightplexes probably, and then we can put another one in the other building.
Big as the basement.
They're massive. Um, Gosh, if I had to guess, they're at least 2,000 square feet.
Okay. Do they have any windows?
In the basement, I do not. They're those small ones, I believe, that are probably like 1 foot by
Okay, so
2 feet.
maybe you're not putting another unit down there, but imagine if you put 10 by 10s.
Hmm. You mean storage units?
Hmm.
There is storage already down there, which is included in the rent.
What if you put in more storage?
Yeah, that's
Or what
true.
if you put in, I'm just trying to think out loud, but like if you could put something down there to provide it to that guy that does the on-site stuff for free that other tenants don't get, now you're not subsidizing the rent.
Right. Yeah, it's the trade-off because I think what you're saying is like you give him something else but increases rent. The net value to him is the same, but the total rental income for the property is more, right? I like that idea. The other thing there is like let's just say we put in even more storage down there, right?
Hmm.
The less room that's down there, the less the people are going to hang out, right? Because like, what are you going to do if there's only a small room? You're not going to have a bunch of people hanging out in there, which is kind of crazy. Like, there's this like, I don't know if you in the Midwest, specifically in Milwaukee, there's these group called the Kia Boys, and it's like this like herd of like kids that go around and just destroy stuff. So, occasionally they've swung by and they'll just throw a party and there'll be like 50 kids there. Then we have to bring the cops out and kick them out. It's the craziest thing. We've had like one person got in a fight or stabbed, and then there's blood on the walls, and we had to then get like hazmat in. It is crazy. It's not even like a bad area. I'm like, how is this much traffic coming into this area?
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't have that here. We just have
Yeah.
standard gangs here.
Yeah. I think that might be more where, maybe it's more in the Midwest where there's just a lot. When there's less economic activity, i.e., less jobs for those call it 16 to 24, somewhere in that range.
Hmm.
They're not busy. If they're not busy, for the good, they have opportunity to be bad. So we're just trying to make it to where they're not in our specific spot. And maybe this is tangential, but that specific my Des Moines building, there's not that's next to another large multifamily, and then there's single family around it. So there's not a lot of like riffraff, if you will. That one in Milwaukee where we have most of our problems, there's the entire street. So there's probably we're on the edge. If you go to the right, there's probably eight more fourplexes. It's just like multifamily row.
Hmm.
That's where we're seeing like as I'm looking for future stuff to buy, that might be a factor that I would look at is like when there's like a conglomerate of a bunch of multifamilies in one spot, that's where kids congregate, right? So, because most of the people that are in these multifamily properties tends to be younger, tends to be smaller, newer families. And so then if all these kids start pooling together, that's that's when I've been running into trouble.
Or let all the riffraff go to your property neighbors until they decide to sell, buy it up, and clean it up all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that definitely would be that would take a while, but you
You
totally.
have a while. You're not old.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's one thing that as I'm talking with other people is like, hey, if you own a property, the easiest people to talk to are your neighbors. Because you can just be like, hey, because I don't know about you, but I'm talking to the neighbors on when, especially if there's problems, and like, hey, how are things going? Are you looking to sell? Any issues with my property with yours? And just keep that conversation going. For example, like where I used to house hack, there's a lady that lives behind my house that I've been talking to at least 2 times a year with the sole purpose I'm trying to get her to sell to me. And she's, mid to upper 60s and she wants to downsize and get into something closer to family. So I know she's going to move. So I've just been keeping these conversations going along with her to try to get her to sell to me.
Very nice. We got a couple of comments. First one is from Flavio. If you have a two-story apartment building, do you have more vacancy on the bottom ones? I don't, but that might be due to location. My Quincy apartments are my only two-story, like up-down units, and they all stay full, but that's because there's not a lot of inventory that competes with my stuff. So I don't know that that's the best solution, but personally, I think the bottom ones would be easier to rent because it's easier to rent to elderly if they don't have to go upstairs.
Right. Yeah, you
I
get
don't know.
you're increasing. So for example, I was just at a house yesterday with an investor friend who's a builder. Perfect house. It's the only thing is that it is probably close to 20 steps to get into the house.
Hmm.
And if you take about, if people with kids are not going to want to lug their kids up there, young kids, right? And then elderly are not going to want to go up there. So you're taking your total population of buyers or renters and you're just narrowing it down. So yes, the single story is going to be your best bet.
Right. We also, let's see. Do you have anything else? Someone asked if you're live streaming. You need a few more followers to do that, right?
Say that one more time.
Someone asked if you are live streaming. I think you need a few more followers.
I have the follower thing. It's just I need to know, and I actually gave this project to my new VA who started last week. So I need to ask him if he got it done. There's got to be a way to hook my Zoom account to my YouTube account. So when you go live, it kicks to mine and goes live.
Hmm.
So I'll follow goals
Yeah,
to
you're
have
up to
that done.
73 now.
I know. Setting the world on fire. But man, from when I think I had in the teens, so I'm probably up around 60 since January. Like my goal this year, between YouTube and Instagram is to get to 10,000. And it's like, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. And it is super hard because you're at, I'm looking at yours right now. You're at almost 1,800. And I know that you do, besides what we do, at least two. I think you're Tuesday, Thursday, and then you do Monday with
Yeah.
Mark. So, I mean, you're pumping 4 videos plus a week. I'm doing 2 to 3 at least a week on average, and it is crazy how difficult it is to get a subscriber base.
Yeah, I just post. The nice thing about mine is I never have to think about it because I just film it with my phone and then post it. But I got a new camera. It's a handheld and it's quite nice. And I'm gonna use it to film my apartments. But I figured, if I have it for my apartments and the marketing there, I might as well use it for YouTube. So I'll probably use that the quality a little bit.
Yeah. What I've been trying to do is I pack in my bag this thing right here. So now like yeah, it's this extends out and it's 5 feet tall, so you can record videos anywhere. So the goal now is if I just carry that with me, have a stand, just talking to the mic, hit record, submit it, and then that's the way to go. Just pump out the volume.
Hmm. Sweet. Well, got anything else you want to share today about occupancy and making money? Yeah, I think we hit a lot of the major points.
Yeah, I think the big one here is because I have my notification date is June 10th is when I'm taking the rest of Western Washington back in-house. So it'll be, because right now I'm only managing one, two, three, four of the Western Washington units. The rest will come online in June 10th. So I'm going to be shifting into I'm the owner telling the manager, "Hey, why is this not rented? Are we getting traction? Do we have it posted? Is it the right price? Did we clean up?" I'll be shifting from the hey, putting my thumb on somebody else who I'm paying to where now it's all on me. So this will be pretty good. Um, you know, come July, I'll have, first full month of entire the West Side. So I'm interested to see how I do. See if my performance is better, between occupancy and then obviously because you can fill anything at at a low enough price, but occupancy at, where am I at compared to the market rents?
Last question we got. How focused are you both on playing to your strengths and outsourcing your weaknesses?
Mm. Outsourcing the weakness. I say I'm getting better at it. And my biggest thing is I'm a control person. And like it kills me like not being able to like I actually want to just choke the property manager at time like why isn't this thing rented?
Yeah.
Now specifically that I'm taking it back in. Obviously that's not giving up control and doing less stuff, but I just hired my second virtual assistant. And now I'm having them take over the stuff that I'm doing that's transactional in nature related to the agent business. Now, I'm very hands-on on that because I want to make sure the active income's up so that we can keep the active income to buy more real estate. So by the whole goal is to fire myself in these low dollar per hour stuff. So like or the biggest thing right now is the actually posting of videos. I was paying a marketing person $35 an hour. Now it's going to be $7 an hour for a VA. So he's doing all the marketing stuff related to the agent business and my social media stuff. And then there's transaction coordination that I'm paying a third party. I'll probably have him do that. So I'm shifting to third party US to internal to my team to increase the um, my time spent on the highest value, which really comes back to lead gen. Now, specifically agent side, that's like getting new clients. But on the seller side, what you do great at, you're always talking to sellers on trying to buy. So these are the two things that I need to focus my time on, and the VAs is what helping me get there.
All right. Well, with that, we will end it for today. Next week, I'm going to have a better camera. It'll rival yours.
Oh yeah, I switched when I'm on the my MacBook Air. This thing's high quality.
Yeah, that's very nice. Anyways, we'll see you next week. Maybe we'll get